welcome to the Postmodern Art Podcast, a podcast dedicated to giving artists who are wandering the world over the platform they deserve. I am your host, Nathan Ragland, and, well, first things first, for those that are watching the video version, I hope you like the brand new little profile pic of me that you see. Shout out to Madame Bun Bun for once again providing an incredible design once again. I knew I wanted a little bit of an update, and, well, she did a fantastic job with the last one, so why not do it with this one? But enough about me. Let's get to today's star of the show, who certainly knows a thing or two about dealing with a show about a star. Today's guest is Gabe Del Valle, a cartoonist and Nintendo nerd who has worked on several incredible animated shows, including recently being the storyboard director for The Patrick Show. This was a genuinely fun and incredible conversation that goes through several different incredible people, incredible characters that, honestly, I sincerely know you guys are going to absolutely love and enjoy this episode. Also, one last quick thing. This is me while in the middle of editing. I'm going to apologize sincerely for people that do listen to this podcast, especially the background noise. You'll probably pick up on it, but there's a lot of time to where you'll catch, like, my sister and her kids in the background. They're young. There's nothing I could do to control that noise out there. It's just going to be there. I sincerely apologize if that ruins your guys' experience. I still think it's a great interview nevertheless, and I sincerely hope that despite the noise that you'll probably hear, you guys do enjoy the conversation I did have with Gabe. It was seriously a great conversation. Once again, I'm sincerely sorry for the background noise that you hear. And if you enjoy Gabe, make sure you support him with the links down in the description below. If you enjoy the podcast, make sure you like, share, subscribe, or follow whatever audio streaming platform you prefer. Leave 5 stars wherever you can. I see that stuff, and I absolutely love it. If you want to go a little bit further with that support, maybe you should consider repping some incredible streetwear from the merch shop at pmap.creator-spring.com. We have a wealth of incredible designs, including the more recent tagged design done by the incredible Aiden, and I sincerely think you guys would absolutely rock it today. And hey, look, if all you guys are trying to do is find a cool, incredible place where you can meet some incredible artists and develop a fun little community thanks to this podcast, maybe you should consider joining our Discord server, the Artist Sanctuary. We have already developed an incredible group of people there that are sharing incredible art, funny memes, and some good times all together. You should definitely be a part of that group today. But now, without further ado, please enjoy the Postmodern Art Podcast. By the way, I just wanted to say, before we actually really get the show on the road, as I was doing my research or whatnot, I noticed there was a person that you've had the opportunity to meet that I would die for the opportunity to meet. You actually got to meet Jorge Gutierrez not too long ago, right?
Yeah, I met him at Nickelodeon. He did it. Well, we should probably talk about this on the show, actually, if you want. I met him at Nickelodeon. He did a talk there. And I got to come up to him afterwards, and discuss to him about how much I love his cartoons, El Tigre, Book of Life.
Yes.
And then he followed me on Instagram, and he said, "Oh, you're the guy who makes those drawings. I love your drawings." And I was like, "Oh, holy crap! You recognize me?"
That has to be surreal. I saw like the photo that you took with him and whatnot, and now hearing that like he recognized your work or whatnot. Oh, that's a dream come true.
Yeah, it really is. Like I wasn't expecting that, especially because I'm not super huge online. Like I have a little dedicated fan base that I'm very appreciative of.
Right.
But it's just nice that someone like that acknowledged me.
I mean, nevertheless, especially like as someone with the quality of work that he seemingly puts out with just about every single project he puts himself into. Like, yeah, real recognize real, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm excited for his next project. I think he's doing I think it's a CG thing again. It's with a Chihuahua luchador. I think he announced it on Facebook recently.
Yeah, I think I saw at least like concept images or something like that recently. So, yeah. That, I mean, one, I'm a person that loves wrestling, so the luchador aspect is something I'm instantly on board for. And secondly, this is Jorge Gutierrez that we're talking about here. Like, everything that he's done is, like I said before, top-notch, super-duper quality. So, yeah.
Mine and the 3, that was so amazing. The climax of that whole thing was nuts.
Especially, like, just... every little intricacy of Maya and the Three, just like the relationship between the characters or whatnot, like the conflict and the action or whatnot, the animation just gorgeous. I'm sure we could have a whole entire episode just talking about him alone.
Oh yeah, I bet. I mean, at some point you should try to reach out to him. I mean, it might be, he's pretty open to talking about stuff.
I would, if I can find a way to contact him, I definitely would love to make that work. I would love to try to make that a reality. So, I was gonna say, like, going through like the questions I have or whatnot, I'm gonna be more focused on the work you have done, not the work that's coming in the coming soon or whatnot. Like, the closest thing that would be like close to NDA territories, if we talk, depending on what we talked about with like the Patrick show or whatnot, like the stuff that you're currently working on or whatnot. Like, I'm not trying to like peer in and try to get like company secrets or anything like that. It's like, I want to talk about the work you have put in, how incredible it's been, like your experiences on some of the previous shows you've done before. A general like awesome, like you're an awesome artist piece.
Thank you. Yeah. And we can talk a little bit about Patrick, like my experience on it and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I definitely want to talk about that, because I'm having a blast on Patrick, and I really hope people see it when, I can talk a bit about it, because there's some interesting things. Like, for instance, I came on because halfway through season 1, they switched from script-driven episodes to board-driven. Okay. And so they needed a whole crew of people who knew how to write for cartoons like these.
Huh. I did not realize that. That's awesome to hear more than anything else. Like the fact that that's the way I would have, like they realized what they needed to do differently with the show, so they really dedicate themselves to bringing in the proper people to do that. That's cool. That's incredible.
Yeah, so we can talk about that, because I'm sure people like to hear that, and I'm pretty sure they made a press piece about that, so I think it's fine to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Gabe, before we really get going, I must ask the icebreaker question of the podcast, if I may. Let's say you get to go to a desert island on your own accords. It is just you alone with your thoughts. You get to kick back, relax, breathe. Get to truly enjoy yourself a little bit with accommodations. You're not stranded on an island. I got you covered there.
Great.
To help with whatever vibe you want to try to go with, you could bring one piece of media or one piece of art with you. Again, to help with whatever like mindset or whatever vibe you want on your solo vacation at this point. If given this opportunity, what would that one piece be?
Okay, one piece of media, I'd probably bring like the Looney Tunes DVDs, like the Golden Collection, because like Looney Tunes are like my favorite shorts. And they're just like endless wells of inspiration and cartoony goodness. And I need that regularly throughout my life.
I mean, that is definitely a really good pick right there, especially like you say Golden Era, like obviously it's called the Golden Era for a reason, like just the insanity, the jokes, the animation, especially for at the time or whatnot, just looking stunning or whatnot, and like so many just memorable moments more than anything else. Do you have like a particular like favorite episode or bit or something like that from that Golden Era?
My favorite director from that time is Bob Clampett. He did like the cartooniest of the Looney Tunes shorts. So Baby Bottleneck is a good one. That's one of the Daffy and Porky, and they're working at a stork factory with babies. So might be that one, or might be my favorite Bugs Bunny cartoon, Tortoise Wins by a Hair.
Yep.
Yeah. Where Bugs Bunny is like mad as all heck for once in his life.
It's like for once in your life, like the tables have turned and you're the one that is being played more than anything else, or
because he's not used to it, he just like cannot handle it, and it's amazing, and it's animated so beautifully.
Absolutely. But nevertheless, sorry, what was that? Right there. The Golden Era of Looney Tunes. That is your answer. You're locking that in.
Yeah, I think so, because like I could watch those again and again.
All right then. Then if that's the case, I cannot think of a better way to start the Postmodern Art Podcast. Welcome, everyone. I am your host, Nathan Ragland. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, or follow whatever audio streaming platform you prefer. You can support the podcast on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/PMAP. And follow us on Twitter and Instagram at PostmodArtPod for future updates and guest announcements, including today's guest. He is a cartoonist and Nintendo nerd who works include Mighty Magic Sword, Middlemost Posts, Looney Tunes, and The Patrick Show. Welcome to the podcast, Gabe Del Valle.
Hello, everyone in podcast land. Thank you so much for listening.
Well, thank you so much for your time to be here today. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Just tidied up the office, got my gamer stream all nice and organized and everything.
There we go. There we go. That's a good mentality to have. I mean, especially with the stuff you're doing there, but more importantly, like the stuff you're doing, like when it comes to work and the animation that you've done. Like whenever our good friend Tipsy Jelly, whenever she told me that she was able to, that you were able to, that that you wanted to come on the podcast or whatnot, I could not tell you how over the moon I was, especially seeing your work and what you've been able to have a hand in. But before we divulge into the stuff you have been working on, I want to go back just a little bit and know more or less the origin story of Gabe. What got you interested in art and animation in the first place?
Okay, so I grew up in the epic, totally radical 90s when we had, really great Nickelodeon cartoons like Rugrats, Ren and Stimpy. Looney Tunes was still on Cartoon Network back then.
Yes.
So I grew up with all that, and I loved drawing as a kid. And the story my mom always tells me is that one day I came home from like kindergarten, and I drew this squirrel. And she says that the squirrel, for a kid, it looks really realistic. So my mom was like, you're going to be an artist. And I was like, okay, cool. She was an artist. Like, she studied art. She went to art school.
Okay.
And, like, she has a painting degree, and she worked as, she works in advertising as like color correction. She's able to like match her painting degree to that. But because of that, she really supported me throughout my life. And then like when I was in middle school and high school, like I taught myself art through books. I had like a blog spot where I had like a little community and stuff. Yeah, I just kept learning art from there and there.
I mean, that's incredible, especially knowing that you had that kind of like the strong foundation with your mom, like being in that business more or less in one aspect for another. Like, I imagine if nothing else, like it really further to encourage you to really delve into it whenever, just as a kid, you were just drawing stuff.
Yeah. No, I was doodling all the time, and like big inspirations for me, especially like when I was in middle school and I was drawing the most, was like Ren and Stimpy and Invader Zim, like kind of like edgy stuff.
Okay. Okay, fair. It's a good, it's a good thing to more or less lean towards, especially with some of the art style just of those shows alone. So I have to know, when did it go from just like a general love for art and animation to a passion and then wanting to make it your career?
I think it was when it was around middle school and high school. Like I kind of realized I wasn't good at anything else, so I kind of put like a lot of my time into like art making and just teaching myself things, finding advice through blogs, just trying to do like 100% all my art assignments at school, and even like the rinky dink like draw a picture for your math class kind of assignments. Trying to think if there's anything else. And then also I remember like I found out what animatics were when I was in high school. And like that's a job. Like people like at first I wanted to be an animator, but I'm like, oh, that's a lot of drawing. I don't know if I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found out animatics are like you do most of the drawings, like you draw out the whole cartoon, but you don't have to do every single drawing that appears in every single frame.
Okay. Yeah, now I can imagine that kind of realization more than anything else, like opened probably a door of opportunities and possibilities for you. Like, because I imagine, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but especially like for me growing up, like thinking about like animation, like potentially doing stuff like that, or just like the movie aspect in general or the TV aspect, like it's hard to really realize just how many different parts go into it,
Oh yeah, no, it's like a whole factory. There's everyone who has like a different role, and everyone kind of specializes in their roles. Like you got storyboard artists, you got character designers, even like people who just do the colors. Like it's crazy how many different jobs there are in animation.
It's absolutely insane. I mean, especially hearing, how much you were able to find the one piece that you wanted to really be a part of and really go all in into that. Like, if the drive wasn't there before, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I imagine like realizing there was that animatic artist or whatnot really like lit a fire under you to really be a part of that.
It was that, and also just like the satisfaction of like thinking of something in my head and putting it to paper and like, oh, it's real now. And to me, that's what it's all about. It's just like just exploring your imagination.
Absolutely. So I have to ask, like, as well as on top of all these other things or whatnot, like hearing that kind of fire that got under you or whatnot, at what point does Nintendo become a part of that life as well?
Okay, so with Nintendo, so I remember when I was really little, I went to a friend's house and he had Super Mario 64.
Okay.
And I was like, what is this? This is so bizarre. And then I thought it was neat. But then I went to my cousin's house and he showed me Banjo-Kazooie, which, if you haven't guessed or seen, that's like my favorite game ever. And it was just like the
No.
coolest. It was just like the coolest thing ever. Like everything talks in the game. All the characters are like really fleshed out personalities. It's just like a cartoon that you play. And by that time, I loved cartoons already. So seeing a cartoon you can play was really mind blowing to me. So like I begged my mom for like a Nintendo 64. I got one for Christmas, and I just played the heck out of both Super Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie. And like those have just that just like cemented like a cornerstone of my personality throughout my whole life.
I mean, I can absolutely tell, especially with like those two being the cornerstones. Great foundation, if I do say so myself. So how does one qualify to become a Nintendo nerd, if I may ask? Because I enjoy Nintendo, but I don't know if I'd call myself a nerd.
Okay, so I think you at least need to beat Super Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie.
Okay. You know what? I'll get started on that. I haven't completed either your yet, but I played both of them like several times. They are so much fun. Especially with Banjo-Kazooie, I could see how, like, especially the cartoon aspect, like that's something that I can only imagine for you. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but like creatively, if nothing else, that has to get like your mind going, like seeing how this cartoon could play out in video game form.
Yeah, exactly. And like it's a wonderful world. Like there's so many different crazy areas. Like there's a beach level, there's a haunted mansion level. It covers so many themes. It's kind of like it feels like an upside down fairy tale. Like if a fairy tale was done by Tex Avery or something.
Yes, yes, that is the. I think that is the best way I think anyone's ever described Banjo-Kazooie ever. That is incredible, right there. Ah, goodness. I can only imagine, especially with like finding that love and passion for that, like. I imagine it creatively drove you a little bit more. Again, seeing some of your art and seeing how you've drawn them in several different ways. You've drawn them, at least like I've seen several different pieces that you've done of them, and each and every single one of those Banjo-Kazooie pieces you do, I absolutely love and cannot get enough of. Like, I would love to see, like, you have some, like, official, like, Nintendo work, like, with, like, Banjo-Kazooie stuff. Like, I'd love to see if you could potentially do, like, animated shorts for them someday or something like that. Like, would that be a cool dream for you to work on something with Nintendo for Banjo-Kazooie?
I would absolutely love that. If I could get in touch with the right people to do that, I'm like 100% gung ho to do it. It's just a matter of like if there is interest on their side. There's definitely interest on my side to do it. But Banjo is in a weird place right now because he came back for Smash. He's got this flood of merchandise the past couple of years, and then it's just been radio silence. Like we don't know if there's going to be a new game on the horizon. We don't know what Microsoft is thinking of them. So he's such a weird place. It's like he's back, but he's not.
I feel the same. I know of a friend and close buddy of the podcast, Drags. He is a super Spyro fan, and I feel like you and him would share that same frustration when it comes to like, there's all this stuff out there. There seems to be a reemergence, but yet there's nothing on the front of like anything new when it comes to games or anything like that.
Yeah. Like Crash Bandicoot too. At least there's a Crash Team Rumble coming out. For the longest time after Crash 4 came out, we thought that was going to be it.
Yeah, fair, valid. But, I imagine while, it's incredible to be a fan of, Nintendo and stuff like that, you still had that love and passion for animation. Obviously, that was what you were able to really set forth and really divulge your career into that. And especially, like I said, in the intro with all these different shows, you have amassed quite a resume, if I do say so myself. And I am amazed with some of the stuff you've been able to do. Do you remember some of the first, like, opportunities, or at least like the first like surreal moments for you when you actually got to break into the industry?
Ooh, okay, so I guess I should kind of talk a little bit about how like my start in the industry. Okay, so like I went to an art school called LCAD, Laguna College of Art and Design.
Okay.
It was a great school. Like all the dudes there were like old school Disney guys, so I learned a lot. And while I was there, I met who I refer to as he that shall not be named, the guy who made Ren and Stimpy. At the time, he was doing an internet cartoon that I'm sure many people know about, and he liked my work, so I got to work on it for a bit.
Okay.
And then I remember, like, going back to the answer to your question, I remember we had a meeting where we showed that to Cartoon Network. And it was just really cool, like, being in the building for the first time, and, like, everyone, like Rebecca Sugar, Pete Browngardt, like, seeing work that I did on the short, like, in a theater.
Wow, that Yeah, just hearing some of the names you just dropped right there, whatnot. I mean, that having that opportunity in the first place had to be just surreal on its own.
Yeah, no, it was amazing.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, despite he shall not be named, it's not like you had the one opportunity and that was it. I mean, past that, you've had several incredible opportunities working on so many different wonderful shows that I've seen several times over. One of the ones that I definitely wanted to touch upon, like super duper quickly, it's a show that I don't think gets enough like love for how like unique and creative it could be at times. And that's Mighty Magic Swords. How did you get the opportunity to work on that show?
Oh heck yeah, dude! I loved working on Mighty Magic Swords. So, so this is what happened. One night, I was doing my amiibo hunting. I was trying to get to like some place in Hollywood, as a Nintendo nerd does. And I remember traffic was bad, so I was like, screw this, I'll just go to the mall. I go to the mall and I see a mutual friend of a mutual friend. I see Kyle, who's a friend of like my roommate, and he's very distinctive. He's got like these mutton chops. He's got this vest.
Right.
And yeah, so I just started talking to him because we're both at the game store. And then we followed each other, and he liked my work. And then another friend of mine was a friend from college, actually. He was working on Magiswords, and they were looking for a freelance board artist to take on a board. So I, luckily, because of those two connections, I was able to do a freelance board for them. And I did that like on top of my other job. So I was like working like on the board from like 8 to 2 a.m. every night, working weekends. Like it was tough, man. Like, oh my God, I hope I never have to do that again. But
I hope so either, for your sake.
Yeah. But I turned it in, and they really liked it, so they offered me a full-time position on the show, and then I got to start working on a Mighty Magiswords.
That's incredible to hear more than anything else. Especially, it seems like every single time I bring up an instance of something like that, like I'm just hearing like, yeah, I got this opportunity. Like you seem to just be like at the right place at the right time to meet just incredible people to really work the proper job that you need to do.
If Nintendo never made amiibos, that opportunity wouldn't have happened.
I know, right? For once, thank you Nintendo for amiibos.
Yeah. But dude, like I consider, so Magiswords was my first storyboarding job. Before that, I was animating, actually.
Okay.
So I animated for He That Shall Not Be Named. We did like some Simpsons intros. We did the Miley Cyrus music video, a bunch of wacky stuff. And then on Magiswords, that was my first storyboarding job, and it's a board-driven show, which means we come up with like the dialogue and the jokes, and mainly most of the story from an outline. Like the outline would be as simple as like, Hyas and Vamber need to go to the dinosaur village to pick up some kind of MacGuffin or whatever. So me as the board artist, we figure out like, okay, what's the exchange that needs to happen between the characters here? What kind of gags can we use? What kind of Magiswords are we going to incorporate? So it's a lot of work, and like that was definitely my first time like cutting my teeth on story. But it was so much fun. Like I kind of see that job as like a first love. Almost like we worked like long hours, especially in the beginning because we were learning. But we're really proud of the things we made, especially season 2, which unfortunately when it premiered they aired it at odd hours. But I think like season 2, I think season 2 like we were really hitting our stride.
I can only imagine. I have to know, obviously, for those that don't know, like one of the major gimmicks when it comes to the magic swords was the different swords that could be used like on a different episode. So I have to know, like with some of the unique swords that were available, was there a personal favorite one that you had, whether it's just what it does or it was your favorite to draw?
Okay, I gotta go back into my memory banks. It's been so long. There was one I like purely because of the design. It was called the Robo Tank Magisword. It just looks like this cute little robot tank. And in the description, we had a PDF of all the different Magiswords and what they do. And in the Robo Tank one, it just says, I don't know. Like just the design exists, we can do whatever with it. So I use it in this one episode where Hyas and Vamber, the main characters, are chasing this little creature around. It's like a Tom and Jerry cartoon. And so they shoot the Magisword at a toaster by accident, and it turns the toaster into like a robot tank, and they do like a whole like Terminator segment with it.
There you go. That's that's a good. I'm sorry, just hearing the whole entire like, what does it do? I don't know. You figure it out. I love that kind of more or less like freedom to just be creative, especially with such a unique world like that. So yeah.
Yeah. Like, and also like Kyle, like he's super amazing, super funny guy, super creative. I remember when we're coming up with our own Magiswords, it always encouraged us to go one step further. Like one episode we are gonna do the coconut Magisword, because of course we want that bonk sound effect whenever they get hit.
Yes.
Um and Kyle was like, let's take it one step further. How's about like a coconut Magisword? So it's like a coconut, but also a bird. So it can like fly and have like wings or whatever if we need the coconut to do that.
Very, very, very creative. Very creative, if I do say so myself. I didn't even think about that. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember if I saw the episode or not. Either way, like that. Goodness, that's incredible to hear. Especially the like I said, going back to what I said before, the creativity you were allowed to have with that show or whatnot. And I imagine like you've had some other creative outlets, creative opportunities with some of the other shows you got to work on, especially with some of the independent stuff as well. As I was going through, I was able to see some of the stuff you were able to work on to help some of the indie projects out there really get their start, really get going. One of the ones I wanted to touch upon is one that I hold near and dear to me. That's Long Gone Gulch.
Oh heck yeah.
I have to know, like, what was your opportunity to work on that short and getting to work on that show, or the pilot at the very least?
Right. So, I met Zach at an art show. It was for a cartoonist named Sean Dickinson. He's like one of my favorite cartoonists. Like
Okay.
everyone listening, you should look him up. He's amazing. He has kind of like this 30s like Fleischer style, but like spooky too. Um, so I met Zach there, and we just started following each other. And I think one time he told me about the pilot, and I was like really interested in it.
Mm-hmm.
And they needed animators for it. And at the time, I was on Magiswords, but I wanted to keep animating because like I didn't want to lose those chops, those animation chops. Because like the good thing about storyboarding is that it's like animation light, like it's what we talked about earlier, where it's like you're not doing every drawing, you're doing like the important ones.
Right.
But I still want to, remember how to make things move. So I got to freelance some animation for Long Gone Gulch. I think I did like a couple minutes on it. And I did that like on my weekends, which I wouldn't do again now. But back then, and for such a cool project, I was more than happy to do it.
I mean, especially seeing how stunning and gorgeous like that, the pilot alone that we've seen or whatnot, just seeing the animation that kind of went to that, and like whether it be just the varied fun like interactions or just like the action sequences more than anything else, like I can only imagine getting an opportunity to like sink your teeth into that project must have been like an experience on its own.
Oh heck yeah, yeah, and like drawing those characters in like Zack and Tara style, it's so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that was like tricky about it was everything was animated in Flash, which I never touched. So I had to, yeah, and drawing in Flash, oh my god, it's so painful. Every line is so chunky. So I had to like figure out some weird backwards way of animating it in Toon Boom and exporting it into Flash, and
Okay.
yeah, but it helped. But hey, it came out good in the end. So
It really did. It really did. And like on top of working on that, you've also got to work independently with Spindle Horse Tunes as well. With I think most significantly, you were one of the people that helped out with Holidaze. Correct me if I'm wrong.
yeah, yes, yeah. So holidays. I mean, I loved working on that. So that was actually a board-driven short. Viv had an outline for what you wanted and the character designs of the two leads. And so she gave me the short premise. There's a Christmas character, there's a Halloween character. They kind of have like a competition at one point, but then they learn to love each other's holidays. And so with that premise, I just kind of went with it. I came up with a scenario, how we introduce the characters, how they meet. I came up with that whole song sequence, and like even in the board, I timed that to the music and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I boarded that whole thing. I did it quick. We had a really tight turnaround because we're trying to make it for Christmas.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I did that in a couple weeks, and the really satisfying thing was like a month later, it was like a finished cartoon. Like her team of animators are just so next level and dedicated and amazing.
Yeah, goodness. Especially realizing that what was it? You said a month to get that short boarded or whatnot. Like that's incredible to hear. Like especially the turnaround for that. Especially seeing how many different like little sequences and like interactions or whatnot in that short alone. Like I applause to you more than anything else to get that done.
Thank you, thank you. Luckily, like so, one thing that helped me with doing that is like Viv's style. It's very graphic,
Mm-hmm.
which so I can draw it really quick. Whereas something like Looney Tunes, which I was working on at the time, those characters take forever to draw because they're dimensional. Like they have like head tilts and stuff. Like Bugs Bunny's face it takes longer to draw than like his whole body or whatever. It's just it's a lot of little intricacies that are difficult to track.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up because that was going to be the next point that I brought up. Because I imagine, especially considering what we talked about with the icebreaker question and some of the tunes that you know got to that you watched growing up and whatnot, it had to be more or less a dream come true whenever they were bringing back the Looney Tunes like cartoons, and for you to get an opportunity to even work with these characters. How did that opportunity even come to be, and what was it like being in that, like being able to be a part of that?
Oh my god, it really was a dream come true, especially because we were trying to do like the Bob Clampett style
Mm-hmm.
Looney Tunes, like with Wacky, Daffy, and like Daffy and Porky together, and like the more shrewy Bugs, which are like, my favorite versions of those characters. And the way that happened was I ran into Pete very briefly at Cartoon Network, and then like a year later, my friend Ryan, he was a director at the time on Uncle Grandpa, he recommended me to Pete to work on Looney Tunes. So eventually, I hopped on board and just started at a blast from there on. Then it was so much fun on Looney Tunes, but also like really stressful because it's like, oh my god, these are the pinnacle of cartoons. Like I have to
Right.
like keep up that energy, that spirit, and like I worked really hard to try and preserve that.
It's like part of you wanted to make sure that you didn't like I guess in the back of your mind think like I don't want to tarnish the legacy. I want to make sure that these like in the modern day are as good as that golden era, if not better, like more than anything else. I can only imagine the stress or anxiety that came with that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there was that, and also like we need to make these fresh. We need to make these Looney Tunes as surprising today as they were back then.
Right.
I don't know if you've seen this cartoon, but I think a good example of one that I did that's like that was the April Fool's one with Porky and Daffy. Did you see that one?
Yes, yes, the what was it, like practical jerk, if I remember what the
Yeah,
short was called.
Practical Jerk. Yeah, the name kept changing. It was like April Fowl for like the longest time. Um,
They should have
but
stuck
yeah,
with that
like that.
personally.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But like that one was because it starts off like a traditional Looney Tune, but then like it just gets dark and like it gets like a little too real.
Yeah.
And so like it's very surprising, and I know a lot of people like it because of that.
I mean, it certainly it's if nothing else, like seeing the work that went into those Looney Tunes shorts or whatnot. I think you guys really did as a team. You guys really did a good job keeping the essence of the original like golden era stuff, while also like keeping it fresh and surprising and fun for people to watch. I mean, seeing how many people were able to really enjoy that, with HBO Max and all stuff like that. So yeah. I,
Yeah, there's still more cartoons coming out, so keep an eye out for them as well.
They really should keep an eye out for that. But I mean, I have to. I mean, I imagine you. Yeah. Once again, words escape me.
Uh,
No, it's incredible to know more or less like you getting an opportunity to work with like incredible people, incredible animation so far, and I haven't even got to some of the more recent stuff that you've done. I have to know like just from what we've talked about so far, like thinking of that aspect of your art journey, like does it amaze you the aspects you're able to be a part of and like the opportunities you had at up to that point?
oh yes, seriously, it's really surreal hearing words that I think in my head and hearing like Daffy Duck and Porky Pig saying them. It's a trip.
Yeah, no
Um,
joke. I think
but
that's
also at the same time, it feels like this is where I'm supposed to be. Like this is like what I dedicated my life to. This is like every like decision in cartoon that I've watched just kind of like led up to this.
that's a good that's a good mentality to have more than anything else. Like having those cool opportunities like that, and I imagine the opportunities kept going, especially whenever you left the Cartoon Network nest with some of the stuff that we talked about, and went towards Nickelodeon to work on at least one of the shows that I thought about, and that was Middlemost Post. Now I've only indulged with this, I think, with one other guest on the podcast before, if I remember correctly. So I have to know, like, what was your experience working on that show? Because if I thought Mighty Magic Sword was incredible, like unique creative world, like Middlemost Post is like right up there when it comes to like just the creativity that show exudes more than anything else.
Oh, thank you, dude. I loved working on Middlemost. That was my pandemic show. Like I worked on that throughout all the
Uh,
pandemic. Yeah, so with Middlemost, what happened with that was I knew John Trabick because I worked on SpongeBob a little bit, and I got
okay.
to know him from there. And so Looney Tunes were kind of like wrapping up. Um, sort of wrapping up because we're waiting for the movie, the Porky and Daffy movie to be greenlit, but it was taking too long.
Right.
But then John was like, "Hey, I want you on my show," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, I got to make a decision now." And at the time, I've only worked on board-driven shows, and board-driven is great because I get to come up with a lot of stuff, but it's also like carrying a massive weight on their shoulder the whole time.
Right.
Middlemost, it's script driven, but they wanted board driven people to come on to kind of like, change things up a little bit.
Okay.
Like keep things visual, if you have a better idea for a line or for like if you have a funnier idea for Parker to like mess with this one character or whatever, you could do that. So ultimately I decided also I decided to go to Nickelodeon for that because John Travick's awesome, and also because I really wanted to participate in the Nickelodeon Smash tournaments that they do every year.
There you go.
Again, it all comes back to Nintendo. It all goes back to that.
I mean, that's a good benefit.
Yeah. So then, like, yeah, I started working on it, and I had a blast. My director was Megan Boyd, who is amazing, and you should have her on the show as well.
Open invitation.
Yeah. And she was really great. We made some funny cartoons. I worked on it for 2 seasons, and yeah, and then I went to Patrick shortly after that.
Okay. I mean, either way, like, especially, thinking back to, working with John, but also, like, just the show itself, Middlemost Post, again, like, it's such I take a shot every time I say this. It's such a unique environment. It's such a fun show with, like, unique rules more than anything else, and like the interactions that come with that. Like, is there, from your work on Middlemost Post, was there a particular moment or a particular episode that is your, like, nearest dear to you, like, or a personal favorite moment from it?
Okay, one of my episodes that I bordered on, it was called Ranch on the Side.
Okay.
It's an episode where Parker, our main character, the little cloud guy, he tries ranch dressing for the first time, and he falls in love with it. And he has like a whole like wedding with it. He has a honeymoon with it. But like then the ranch starts like going bad, and it's like a parody of like a relationship going bad. And I just love this emotional journey that the character goes through over a freaking bottle of ranch dressing. And those are the kind of stories I really love to tell, where it's a ridiculous, silly premise, but there is like emotion to it. There is like a relatability to it. There is like, oh, you can kind of relate this to like indulging in something too much, or you can relate this to like a relationship you've had with like a significant other, or like a friend going bad. And it just, to me, those are like where the best stories kind of come from, like just an emotional core with silly, goofy cartooniness like wrapped around it.
Absolutely. And I have to say, probably one of the saddest moments of Nickelodeon food-based comedy since, what was it, when SpongeBob was trying to keep the perfect Krabby Patty together for the longest time or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
That tore the heartstrings, if I do say so myself.
Heck yeah. Middlemost, I remember like kind of the mantra for the show is that for every laugh there should be a tear, because like it's a silly, sometimes gross show, but there's still like an emotional core amongst the 3 main characters, Parker, Angus, and Russell. And like that to me, like, I don't know if you've ever seen my student short film.
I don't think I have. I feel so. I'm sorry. I forgot. I did not get a chance to find that. That's on me. I apologize for that.
Okay, check it out. It's called My Hair Lady. It's somewhere deep in my Twitter. I should post a YouTube link to it or something. But it was a short about this Sasquatch girl who falls in love with a lumberjack.
Okay.
But she's afraid to approach him because like she's too hairy. And I don't want to spoil the ending, but somehow they get together. But like it's a very silly premise, but it kind of came from when I was a teenager. I was like a super hairy dude. Okay. So like I was afraid that people would be weirded out by that. But I was able to kind of take that and turn it into a cartoon and like be more accepting of it.
Okay, yeah. I can see how you can have that kind of personal connection insert into that, especially with the student short, but also like you're talking about with Middlemost Post, for every laugh there should be a tear. I can only imagine, especially with a show like that, correct me if I'm wrong, was it easy or was it hard for you to really like put your full emotion into a show like that?
Oh, I think it was easier. Well, let me put it this way. Like, I feel like with a lot of the cartoons I've worked on, there's kind of like two different types of storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
There's cartoons that are just focused on the gags, like, oh, Daffy tries repeatedly to get this pie off the cell, or there are ones kind of like with an emotional arc to them, kind of like the ranch one I just talked about. And for me, those ones are kind of easier to do, the emotional arc ones, because I can get more in the head of the character. I can find, things that have happened to me in the past and kind of put it in the character, which for me is great because it's my day job, but I really get to be creative and expressive in what I'm doing.
Right.
And the gag kind of cartoons, those are great, but in some way they're harder. It's almost like math because it's like you have to figure out like, okay, how do I make this joke funny? How do I set it up? How do I pay it off? And I love kind of like going between the two though, because they kind of like help reinforce each other.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can only imagine, especially with what you're saying, kind of getting into the head of the characters and whatnot. I imagine it was probably easier to do it with some of your most recent work, and that is working on the Patrick Show. See what I did there? No, how did the opportunity come for you to work on a show like the Patrick Show?
Okay, so Middlemost was ending, and around that time, the Patrick Show got a new showrunner, which was Kenny Pittenger. He's an amazing dude. He has been on, it was worked on the OG SpongeBob. His first job was on Cat Dog, which like came out the same year as Banjo-Kazooie. So of course I was eating that up as well.
Understandable.
Yeah. And so he was my director on Looney Tunes cartoons. So I worked a lot with him.
Okay.
He's like the sweetest guy. Like I consider him a good friend. And Middlemost was wrapping up, so he asked if I wanted to be on the Patrick Show, and I told him like around that time I was really like hungry to become a director.
Ooh.
And so yeah, so a storyboard director position opened up on Patrick, and luckily he was able to cleanly bring me aboard.
Nice. That is incredible to hear more than anything else. Now, I have to personally ask, because as someone that is outside the industry, I didn't realize that there was a director for storyboards alone. So, if I may ask, especially on the Patrick Show, what is your position? Like, how do you go about directing the storyboards? Is it one of those like you set up storyboards, or do you help others like kind of get an idea how to cohesively tell the story in a board series show like this?
Okay, so for every show, like the storyboard director position is different.
Okay.
Because this one is board driven, it's very different. So the way it works is me and my board artist, who in this case is Mike Polinsky, who actually worked with on Mighty Magiswords.
Okay.
We get our outline and we split up the board. Like I'll board half, he boards half, and I have to just constantly like make sure what he's doing tracks with what I'm doing, and just always be looking at the big picture of the rough board to make sure that the story works, all the gags work, we have our callbacks, all that stuff.
Okay, that makes sense, especially with, I can only imagine, like, especially with a show like The Patrick Show, which is a little bit more, loose and fun, especially with some of the concepts that you've been able to execute with that show. I imagine that it's been unique, kind of really having those scenarios more or less, like, play out, if I may say so myself.
Oh, for sure, for sure. The way I kind of think of, like, especially the board-driven Patrick Show episodes, are kind of like Porky and Daffy cartoons in terms of the gag, where, like, we can get really, like, silly and surreal with it, but it still always comes from character. It always comes from, like, Patrick's, dumbness and how that, or his hunger, or whatever needs to motivate that story.
Absolutely. I can only imagine, again, with a fun little show like this, like, I know you mentioned, working on SpongeBob here a little bit or whatnot, but getting an opportunity to work with Patrick, I know it may not be the same as like a Bugs or Daffy or Porky or whatnot, but it has to be surreal, because I imagine, like, especially you saying, growing up around like the 90s or whatnot, SpongeBob really being an integral part at like late 90s, early 2000s, like, was it incredible to know that you get a chance to work with a character like Patrick and really bring that to life?
Oh, heck yeah, because, like, SpongeBob, like, the original series, like, it was such an imprint on me and, like, our whole culture. And, like, it really taught me comedy, just, like, watching that growing up. So it really is, like, an honor to kind of, like, continue that legacy with Patrick. And Patrick is #1 in children's rating show or whatever, so it's coming for that SpongeBob. He's gonna take that crown. He's called Patrick Star for a reason. He was always the star.
Yep. Patrick Sweep, baby. Patrick Sweep.
Patrick Sweep.
It's funny that I'm getting that chance to talk to someone that's actually directing episodes of the Patrick Show. I remember there was not too long ago, a while ago, I appeared on a different podcast right when the Patrick Show was about to premiere or whatnot. And I remember saying, because the host had asked me, what you're a person that loves animation, you love SpongeBob or whatnot. Like, what do you think of the Patrick Show? And I'm like, at the time I was like, I'm willing to give it a chance because more than anything else, like it looks like a lot of fun. And so far, what I have been able to see with the Patrick Show, it just looks like fun. It just looks like just incredible fun, nonsensical like family entertainment more than anything else.
Yeah, no, it's like it's all the silly goofiness of SpongeBob just like ramped up to 11.
Yes.
And we can do a lot of cool things with it because Patrick has like this time closet thing, so there's like time travel elements, and we change up like the style of the show a bit, and the whole idea of the show is that it's kind of from Patrick's perspective, so things are weirder, some characters might act stupider. So we just have this wonderful sandbox to play with.
Absolutely. I mean, I can only imagine, especially the fact that, like you were saying, getting the opportunity to work on this fun little sandbox and getting these cool opportunities or whatnot. I can only imagine, like, going back to the previous question, like some of the moments you've been able to really go from your mind onto paper or animation in this case and really bring to reality. Is there a moment or is there an episode from the Patrick Show that you've been a part of that you're either like is your personal favorite or that you're most proud of that you're able to execute it to perfection?
Oh god, I don't know if we can really talk about that too much because like none of my episodes have come out yet. I think they will. I think they will soon, and I'll keep it at that. But I think the good stuff, at least for me, like me and my board team, I think it gets really better by like our second or third episode. Like the first episode that I did it like in a week.
Oh wow!
Because I roughed out the whole thing in a week because I got hired right before Christmas.
Oh,
so
lovely.
Like, yeah, so I was like, I don't want to forget all this stuff right before Christmas break. So I just like busted my butt and like roughed the whole thing out in a week. And it's a fun episode. It's a real good one. But I think after that, once we get into our stride, we're like, I think we're firing all cylinders by then.
Okay, you know what? That's awesome to hear more than anything. Like, I imagine it's like that with just about any sort of production. Like, once you really get comfortable and know more or less how far you can go with something or whatnot, it has to be just fun to really get to execute it.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like, it's always a learning process. Every board has like different challenges. Like some boards, like again, going back to that gag driven or emotional thing, you have to kind of figure out, okay, what kind of episode is this one? Is this, who's at stake? Is Patrick at stake or is Squidina at stake? What is like the main point of the episode? How can we squeeze the most comedy out of this premise? And just like a lot of questions you got to ask yourself, and as you keep doing them, you get better at asking those questions.
Absolutely. I can only imagine like the opportunities that you've had like at Nickelodeon, but just as a whole, when you're thinking back to just your entire animation journey, like does it amaze you how far you've been able to come along to the point to where you're now being the director for a character that was, part of your cultural identity growing up?
Oh man. I think the reality of that will hit me once I see like a segment of the Patrick Show that I boarded in a commercial saying coming up next Patrick Show, and you see like one of my scenes in that ad or something. Like it hasn't hit me yet because I'm just working on the thing. It's just like I'm just the day to day. But I think once I see it, I'll be like, oh.
I mean,
sure. Like I had that realization. I remember on Looney Tunes when I did this one Looney Tunes short. It features Bugs Bunny and this character that we just called the Russian Hound, who was like in one Bob Clamp and Bugs Bunny cartoon, and he's very distinct because he talks like this, and he goes, "How do you do?" Like you might remember the character from that. And like I boarded that, and I never saw the animation for it. When the cartoon finally came out, and I saw that was real, like I almost choked up a little bit because I'm like, oh my god, it's an actual thing. Like all that hard work like paid off.
Right, absolutely. I mean, again, as someone that's like an outsider for this industry, like I can only imagine, especially like you were saying, like have it, being around these characters, like growing up, really seeing, how much of an impact they left on you, and then being able to turn around and basically create them to eventually potentially like leave an impact on someone else. Like I can understand why you'd be choked up more than anything else.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. And last time I checked, you're still working on the Patrick show. No, sorry.
Yeah, we're still going strong.
Yep.
Still going strong.
Absolutely.
And like, out of all the jobs I've had, though, I gotta say, like, I think I enjoy being on the Patrick show the most.
Okay.
Yeah, I say that because like I reached a point where like I don't want to be like, oh, I know what I'm doing, but like I reached a point where it's like I kind of know what I'm doing. Like the storytelling just comes easier to me. These are characters that I grew up with, so I find them like, easy to write because they're just like in my voice.
Right.
So like I'm always having a good time and everyone likes what we're doing. I just have really good work-life balance on this show compared to like every other show I've been on. And we're making good stuff and everyone's having a good time and everyone on the crew is like super, super nice.
Absolutely. I imagine part of that work-life balance is trying to make sure that you destroy your competition with the Nickelodeon Smash tournaments.
Yeah, dude, I'm still. I gotta set that up because like the main guy who used to set it up, he's not there anymore.
Okay.
So like, someone has to do it. And like, at work every week, me and my coworkers on Thursday we play Smash during lunch.
Okay.
We'll just try to outbest each other.
I imagine you have to personally take up the mantle and make an example of your cast and of the cast and crew. Let them know there is a reason why I'm the one hosting this.
Yeah. I think they happen in the summer, so like I need to get the dominoes in effect, man. I got to figure this out. It needs to happen.
As long as you ensure that because I remember for 1 year whenever I think someone released it afterwards, like the cartoon, like what was it, or maybe it was someone else, like the crossover that someone had with like Nickelodeon characters being dressed up as like the Smash characters or whatnot. You just gotta make sure you get yourself dressed up as King K. Rool for whatever poster or whatnot for it.
Of course. What I'm probably gonna do is draw the DLC characters as Nickelodeon characters.
Oh, there you go. I can only imagine who would be the Banjo-Kazooie like stand-ins for those.
Someone suggested the characters from that new pony show. I forget the name of it. Like What's Up Pony or something. But another one I was thinking was there's an episode of Middlemost Post where Parker turns into a bear. So maybe that would work.
There you go. Have his bear and have Russell be basically the Kazooie for that one. Just a big giant seal instead of a bird, or walrus instead of a bird. There you go. I mean, I just getting to talk to you. I'm right now. This has been already just like surreal, getting to more or less like peer into someone that's had a hand in so many incredible stuff and so many amazing things. Like I have to know, like it. You said you're when it comes to the Patrick show, like it's awesome the job you're getting to do right now. But is there like maybe a potential like dream opportunity that you would love to see, like realistically, like being the helm of like a certain show or whatnot?
Okay. I don't know if this is realistic or not, but like goddamn it, I want a Banjo cartoon.
There you go. That's fair.
Like it needs to happen, and like I feel like no one else is doing it, so I'm like, god damn it, I need to step up to the mantle and do something about it.
You know what? That's understandable. In fact, I'll tell you what, that might lead to my next question, if I may. And I want to give you, Gabe, more or less the dream scenario, if I may. Let's say I am Big Shot Mr. Moneybags. I get to come up to you and I'm like, look, Gabe, we see the work that you've had a hand in. We see your fingerprints in all these different cartoons, and we know you can do some incredible stuff. Just need that little extra push, little motivation, of more or less a platform to really get that stuff going. We have access to anyone and everyone in whatever industry possible, and more money than there should be possible. We could probably be funding so many more anime projects. We'll probably do that as well. But for now, we're focusing on you and you alone. If given this opportunity, what would be the dream Gabe project, and why would it just be a Banjo-Kazooie cartoon with 20 seasons?
It's just because I've worked on a lot of great characters, like Bugs Bunny, Patrick, and stuff, and like Banjo, although he's a video game character, he would feel so at home, and I feel like the timing is just right because you've had people grow up with Banjo-Kazooie, and you have a new generation that knows about him because of Smash and because of the game on Switch, and we're in this era right now where we're doing so many video game adaptations. I've been watching Last of Us, the Mario movie is on the horizon, and I'm like
Yeah.
chomping at the bit for that. Um, and like I don't want Banjo to be left in the dust. Like there's so much potential there.
Right.
So I hope that Microsoft can see that, and that, hopefully I can be involved with that somehow.
Absolutely. I mean, especially, you know, it seems like, at least when it comes to your journey, that I've at least noticed, is getting an opportunity to work with just like incredible characters and like really getting a chance to give them more or less like an interesting twist and a new fun lifeline more than anything else. So I imagine like getting an opportunity to work on like a Banjo Kazooie show or even like a Banjo Kazooie movie or something like that. I can only
Voice Range Opperman.
like I just only imagine like the opportunity that you can have to really like bring that to not only like bring it to life but give it the justice that the old games like the old games like gave in the first place, like given that kind of nostalgic like love that people fell in love with in the first place.
Yeah, I want more people to feel that. Like I hope if I do get to make it, that's what they feel from it.
Absolutely. And I meant to ask this a little sooner, but I mean like going back to like all these different opportunities that you've had getting to work on such products or whatnot, I can only imagine like on top of that the people you've gotten to meet along the way and like the co-workers or like even the people that you met because of like opportunities or whatnot, like that has to be one of the most surreal aspects of working in this industry for you. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, it really is. It's like at first it's like, oh my God, these people are like legendary. Oh, but then like you get to know them and they become friends and it's great. And they put on their pants like everyone else does.
True. I've had several stories from other people about meeting certain animators or certain people whatnot. Is there a moment for you that even with the realization of they put on your pants like they put on their pants like everyone else or whatnot, is there one that still kind of hits you like, oh my God, I actually got an opportunity to meet this person, I got an opportunity to work with this person, or we work together to create such and such? Like, has there been a moment like that for you on this animation journey so far?
Okay, I have a funny story for that. Okay, so when I was in college, I took a master class with Eric Goldberg, who was the animator
Oh,
for Genie. God, what else did he do? He did so many things. He did Phil from Hercules. I think almost like all the wacky characters from like the 90s and 2000s movies. Like he
right.
animated them. He's still at Disney today. He's like their sole 2D animator. He's a legend.
Yes.
Um, and so we did a film in the master class. And so when we finish up the film, there was going to be screening at his house,
Oh.
and we went to his house. It was going to be a big party, and like all the Disney greats were there. There was like Andreas Deja, who did like Scar, Glenn Keane, who I'm sure that everyone listening to this podcast knows who that is. And out of all the people there, one other person who was there was Jonan Vasquez, the
Okay.
guy who made Invader Zim. And I was like, holy cow, I did not expect him to be here. So it was just kind of like super surreal seeing like all this talent in one place.
I can only imagine. I mean, even then, like for you, you said that was like back in college. Like I asked, now that you've had more than a foot in the door and got a chance to really work in this experience, if you got to meet the people like that, like nowadays, would you just be like, "Hey, what's up? It's awesome, pleasure to meet you."
No, they're still gods.
Valid, valid. I mean, to be fair, the people I get to meet on a weekly basis on this podcast, like I still like hold lot of love and admiration for just about everyone that I get to talk to on this podcast. So hearing that you be like that with obviously the gods of animation, more or less, I relate. I completely understand. Goodness. Uh, is there a animator that you may have not had an opportunity to work with yet, but you would just also like to like chomp at the bit and eventually get a chance to like work alongside them? Just say I worked with such and such.
Let me think about that one. My first thought was Jorge, so I'd love to work
Mm.
with him. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else. Because I worked with a lot of cool people
Yeah.
right now. I think for now for now I'm just gonna say Jorge.
Mm-hmm.
But if I really think about it, I'm sure I could come up with more.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, to be fair, I mean, there, how many incredible people in animation, just a chance to work with any one of them is gotta be a dream on its own. I mean,
Yeah. Let me put it this way. Like, kind of my goal as an animation professional is I just want to keep working on cartoony stuff. Like,
there
that's
you go.
like my goal till like the day I croak or retire or whatever. Like, I'm very thankful that we're in this time period right now where cartoony cartoons are like cool again. Like, we have like Cuphead and Animaniacs reboot and Looney Tunes, so kind of all thank for that. And I hope I hope it's not a trend. I hope this is just like the status quo for the next 40 years or so, that like cartoony cartoons are always going to have their place.
I mean, I'd like to think that they at least have a place to stay, especially nowadays, especially seeing, how many different avenues and how many different ways to consume the cartoonies and such. Like, I personally don't see it going anywhere. I hope I'm right. I hope I'm right with that statement. But
Yeah.
I mean, I imagine, like, if nothing else, like, if it's not just like through the cartoons, it's like through the different avenues that people get to showcase that love and support for the cartoons or whatnot. Whether it be like just watching these animation stuff like that, producing like video essays or YouTube videos, stuff like that, or even just like how people like introduce themselves when it comes to streams and stuff like that. I know you've recently been getting into streaming as well. What interests you about being a part of that?
Okay, so streaming. So especially during the pandemic, like, because we're just home all day,
Right.
and it sucks. And like I can't talk to people about Banjo-Kazooie or cartoons, so I'm slowly going insane. So I discovered Twitch, and I found like other people who like to talk about those things as well, like on stream and stuff. And then after a while, I was like, maybe I should give this a shot. And then I learned about like PNG tubers and
Yep.
stuff. Yeah, and I was like, oh man, I could like animate my own little guy, and I can have him say things and do things. And so I came up with this little gator character, the little icon I have. And the whole idea for him is that he's going to be like a sewer gaming gator. So I'm gonna have this layout that looks like a sewer, and I'm gonna play like Mario and Banjo music that's like sewer themed, and like for notifications and stuff, I'm gonna have like zombie goldfish pop out of pipes and like little poop characters and stuff like that. There's a lot to play within like the sewer theme. And so what I've been doing lately is just streaming with friends, playing video games. I did a Smash stream last night. It was a lot of fun. I can't talk and play Smash, so thank God he was there. I just go into like epic gamer mode.
Yeah.
This guy. So like I'm doing math equations, playing this game, trying to like get all the spacing right and all that stuff.
Goodness.
And I'm also been doing art streams, which have been like super fun. Like I'll do lately. I've just been like sketching for people. And it's super fun, and like as a board artist, it's super cool because like I just love doing like quick, loose sketches. So
Right.
someone will suggest something, and then I just kind of whip it out, and then like I move on to the next thing.
Absolutely. I was gonna say, like, it's incredible to know that you've been able to dip your toes with the PNG tuber space or whatnot. Because I'm someone that talks to a lot of VTubers and PNG tubers or whatnot. So hearing that, like, you're dipping into that, I'm just thinking to myself, oh, I could introduce you to so many people if you really wanted to.
Yeah, no, that would be great. Because I'm learning all this stuff, so I'm trying to talk to people. Like people like Duper's been helping me out, and Penelope, you know her. Like, it's a great community. Like everyone's super cool. I'm hoping to do more like joint streams with people. Like I did the first one last night with my friend Aaron, who goes by Aaron's Mind. Um, last night with Smash. But yeah, it's been great, and like I hope to keep it up. It's just that scheduling it is tricky. That's the
Yeah.
only thing. But like so far so good.
That so far so good. I mean, I imagine it has to be kind of hard to kind of do with scheduling because you're working in animation. It's kind of hard to really balance that sometimes. I can only imagine. So
There's a handful of people who work in animation who also have VTubers. I need to hit them up and see like how they handle it.
I know I know of a few people off the top of my head that I've either known because I've gotten to talk to them or because I've gotten people in the VTuber community that are friends with those animators or whatnot. There's a good couple that I can introduce you to if you really want to go down that path.
Yeah. And another reason why I got into PNG tubering is because again, going back to like wanting to keep my animation chops up, like I don't want to work weekends on animation freelance anymore. Like, my work-life balance is very important.
Right.
Like without it, I can't do good at my job. But with PNG tubing, I get to animate for myself.
Yeah.
So I don't have to worry about deadlines as much. I can just kind of do things in a looser style if I want to, or can so it just gives me freedom to keep those chops up, but not having to like worry about the pressure of a deadline and just have fun with it.
There you go. It's a good mentality to have. Especially like finding that good work-life balance. I mean, it's always vital and it's always important, especially for an industry like this.
Yeah, I kind of have this rule with myself that I try not to draw on the weekends. Like I know people are like, "Oh, draw every day," but I find that like if I don't draw for 2 days, I draw better on the third day.
Well, there you go. There you go. It's a good mentality to have. That is a good mentality to have. But going back to the dream project, question I asked earlier, whatnot. Sadly, we do gotta get down from that dream scenario, and we gotta get back to reality. And I have to ask the ever so generic question, Gabe. Where do you hope to see yourself, say, 5 to 10 years from now? I mean, you've been able to get this far, doing so many incredible stuff. Where do you hope to see yourself in the short term future?
20 seasons of Banjo show and a movie.
Okay, that's a good, a good start.
I'm kidding. I hope I'm continuing to direct storyboards and whatever cartoony show is out at the time. Possibly Patrick show. We'll see. I hope it lasts a long time. I want to like build up my streaming community more.
Okay.
I want to like. I'm at that point where like I want to start like helping to teach people things. Like I'm even been like trying to organize like a how to storyboard for board driven shows guide. Like I'm hoping by then it'll be done.
Okay.
And I could sell that. I'm trying to start a webcomic. Like I introduced some characters like over on my Twitter. You might have seen them. So I'm trying to do something with them. So hopefully by then that'll be fleshed out. Definitely be married by then.
There you go.
That's on the way. I think what else. This is like okay. Let's just say like none of that happens. Like one thing I'd like to do is open up like kind of like a small studio
Okay.
and like help out on indie projects.
That's a good thing to strive for.
Yeah, kind of like take pitches from people and help people with their indie projects. Because there's so many amazing things being made today, and like if I am successful enough and in a place where I can help other people, I would really love to do that.
Those are all wonderful goals to aspire for more than anything else. And I sincerely hope you get to achieve most, if not all of them. Because, I mean, especially hearing kind of the love and passion you've had for this industry, like throughout this entire journey or whatnot. Like, I know that whatever you do next, short term or whatnot, or even long term, I know you're going to continue to have that love and support into it. It's going to be an incredible job because that love and support is going to be on full blast no matter what you do.
Yeah, I appreciate hearing that, but thank you.
So as we start to wind down the interview, I just have one last question I want to ask. Obviously, you've been deeply entrenched in art for as long as you can remember, even before you even realized how deeply entrenched you were when it comes to art. How important is art, not just for you, but for the world as a whole?
Oh my God, it's so important. Okay, so we're not saving lives, but we're like making life. Like, we produce things that everyone consumes on the regular basis. We make things that life is worth living. I think all kinds of art, not just like animation and cartoons, but even like weird modern art in museums and stuff. Like it's just it's just wonderful that we live in a world where there's all different kinds of art for people to consume and discuss and to bond over. I think that's a big thing too, because art can create community, it can create like long-lasting friendships and stuff. It can really bring people together, or so. It's really important, I think, and I want to get to a point where I can like help, the next generation and stuff.
That is a wonderfully worded and a good thing to aspire for more than anything else, if I do say so. Gabe, that is all the questions I have for you. I've already showered you with a whole bunch of praise, but I want to show you a little bit more because it's my podcast. I do what I want.
Look, I'll gladly take it. Thank you very much.
Good, because you're going to accept it. Anyways, no, Gabe, whenever Tipsy Jelly, whenever she told me that you were that you wanted to hop on the podcast, I couldn't help but get a little bit excited because, again, I've been seeing some of your stuff on Twitter or whatnot, and I've been seeing the stuff you're able to have a hand in, really getting to go all in and research on you and whatnot. I didn't realize how much you actually did have a hand in and how much you've been able to really make reality like so many fun, interesting scenarios, whether it be original stuff like the Mighty Magic Sword or like stuff that people have come to know and love, like Looney Tunes and Patrick Show or whatnot. Getting the chance to really sit down and talk to you and whatnot, I already had a good level of respect just seeing what you've been able to do, but I have a whole new level of love and respect knowing the amount of love and passion that you have for just animation and art and all this different kind of stuff. Like knowing the stuff that knowing how much effort you're putting into this stuff is admirable more than anything else. And I appreciate that there are incredible people like you in the animation industry really telling those stories and really like providing a good fun time for whoever wants to sit down and watch, whether it be just, you know, silly gags that's a good laugh at the end of the day, or like stuff that has a good bit of heart behind it, a good bit of emotion to go along with it. For whatever you do next, I know it's going to be absolutely incredible. And if I wasn't rooting for you before, I'm definitely going to be one of the people with the foam finger, like rooting for you for every single step away for whatever you get the chance to do, because I know you're going to knock it out of the park every single time. Thank you for what you do. Keep up the awesome work and keep doing incredible stuff.
Oh my God, you're gonna make me tear up. Thank you.
I'm just being honest, man. It's been an honor to get to even talk to you. Like, seriously, thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. It was really nice to kind of like, spill my brain all over this podcast for a bit.
Oh, Jesus, I have to get the mop again.
Yep.
For those who may be curious on the stuff that I've been talking about and want to also show that love and support for you that I'm giving to you right now, go ahead and plug your stuff for the people at home.
Okay, so most social media I go by gadworks, GAD works. On Twitter I'm Gabe Del Art because gadworks is taken by like some defunct Japanese gasoline company.
Oh, that's
yeah, I know. So yeah, you can find me through there. I'm most active on Twitter, but I also use Instagram, and I'm getting back into Tumblr a little bit. But
I mean, seeing the burning pile that is, you know, Twitter, yeah, I could see at least delving into that.
it's still a ghost town, though, I gotta say. But hey, we'll see what happens like a year from now or so.
Absolutely. And you know, hey, you know, you were talking about, you know, the PNG tubing or whatnot. If people want to see some of your streams or whatnot, where can they go?
Okay, so twitch.tv/gadworks. I stream most of the time on weekdays, like around like 6 or 7. So you can kind of, I'll post on my Twitter the day of I stream because it kind of depends day by day. I don't have like a schedule yet.
Right.
But yeah, just know most of the time is going to be like 6 or 7. So like right after I'm getting off of work.
Absolutely. And you know, if you missed any links or whatnot, I'll be sure to have them in the description below to make sure that people can show you that love and support. Do you have any final words before we sign off?
If you're an aspiring artist, keep doing what you do. Love what you do. Learn from everyone, but follow no one. That's a big piece of art advice I always give. Find what you enjoy the most or the most naturally good at, and hone in on that as well.
There we go. That is wonderfully worded and a wonderful way to end the podcast. With that, all I have left to say is for the people at home, hasta luego, mi amigos.
Ciao.
Tell me what's wrong, tell me sparks in motion. Sing me a song, tell me your eyes can all open. Show me it all, pick me up in the car you drove when you used to call. Show me it all.
Thank you so much for sticking around to the end. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, I greatly do appreciate you sticking up to this point. When Tipsy was gracious enough to make the connection with me and Gabe to make this happen, I cannot tell you how excited I was for this. Like, knowing, hearing of Gabe before and seeing what they've been able to have a hand in, like, it was an incredible little, like, behind-the-scenes look to see a truly incredible career right now. Like, it's amazing. Gabe, if you're listening up to this point, I'm genuinely amazed and honored to have talked to someone that has worked on so many incredible projects, done so many incredible things, worked around so many incredible people. It was a true treat to be able to talk with you today. You know, like, that's the thing that always amazes me more or less about the podcast. You know, as I think back several times over, I cannot tell you the amount of times I always get the, well, how did you get such and such on the podcast? I mean, I got my simple answer if I ask, but it still amazes me to this day how I'm able to meet so many incredible people and consider myself friends with so many more. Seriously, I know I have said it a million different times, but thank you guys sincerely for sticking along this weird winding road of a podcast journey and really allowing me to have these opportunities. Really allowing me to showcase these opportunities to you guys, I should say. I get imposter syndrome a good bit of the time, I'll be honest. Do I really have the rights to be talking to this person? Like, am I really worthy of their time, their day to talk to them or whatnot? Am I putting forth that good of an effort or whatnot? But I know they're just thoughts. At the end of the day, I am putting forth an incredible effort. I am putting the time and effort to really get to know these people. And I'm having just some great, genuine conversations. And I cannot thank you guys enough for rolling with me on this silly little journey. I mean, obviously, I'm not slowing down anytime soon. You should wait to hear some of the episodes I got planned in the pipeline. There's some cool guests coming on here, guys. There's some fun people at the end of the day. I'll keep it short today. And I'll leave you guys with this fun little... Well, I'm not going to say fun. I'll leave you guys with these parting words. Never take what you do for granted. You guys have so many incredible opportunities and are doing such incredible stuff. Don't ever take that for granted.